Good morning, Night and Day. And this morning, I always try to think about, you know, why am I here? What am I trying to say? What am I trying to accomplish? And I just always go back to the same thing. When I always go back to like why I started this, I think it was always to find a connection. And it's like, why is connection important to me? I think when you're not connecting like I was, which I consider kind of, if you're broken, you're not connecting, you're not connecting within, you're not connecting with other people the way you want to. It's not that I didn't have connections, but none of them, you know, felt right. You don't feel like you're giving someone the energy needed, and you don't feel like you're receiving the energy needed. So when I go back to think like, what was I trying to do when I moved out here? I think like a lot of people, I think will understand this. Sometimes you're just trying to get away. And I think that was like part of it for me, New York, and I just needed, I think, to close that chapter of my life and see if there was something possible somewhere else. And I knew moving out here that I would have a new fresh start in California, but I also knew I was going to have to face a lot of the similar problems I had in New York. I was going to have to have a fresh start here, but it wasn't necessarily going to change the way I was, or the way I was perceiving things, or what I was going through. So I think, when I dived in, I looked at like seniors, and a lot of this is now having this perspective. I don't think I had it back then. I think I had an idea. I think that's, something sometimes calls you. I think that's why they call it a calling. There is something that is kind of steering you there, even though you're scared, afraid, don't know what is coming down, the pike. But I knew I wanted to kind of lean into, the things that I connected with my mom, the things that I've connected with people in the past, the things that I've seen and love, and the things that just kind of stuck with me. I always look at it like the pieces of the puzzle I already had collected and didn't want to let go of. And even if they didn't fit necessarily the puzzle out here, I was going to find a way to kind of make them fit, or at least like use that as my foundation to create a new, but I would say puzzle, or just a new reality, a new way that I would be able to kind of attack the day, attack the world, and kind of create a new reality for me that I would enjoy, that I would connect, that I would feel, comfortable in my skin, comfortable where I was. And those were all kind of, wishful thinking and belief and hope, but, no clue. So when it came to seniors, I was talking to someone the other day, and it was like he had moved out here from another country and said, the thing he connected was with his religion, going to church. And I have I think a pretty good knowledge of religion in general, different religions. I wouldn't say I'm religious in any way, but I think I have a good concept of the foundations of most religions. So, when I looked at seniors as like, that would be my connection, that would be kind of my religion to connect to do good things for, to kind of show up for, to tether myself. I think that's a word in religion. I would kind of tether myself to the senior community. And if I couldn't kind of figure out myself, and kind of couldn't, I would say, if I was like an instrument and I couldn't tune myself properly, that I was going to count on seniors to kind of lead the way, kind of see the things I like, see the things I don't like, and kind of just keep showing up every day, hence night and day. So, for me, I always I never looked at it as a term of I was selling a product, selling, as people will know, adult briefs or diapers. I just never saw it that way. I saw it as like I needed to show up for somebody. I think mostly for myself, but I learned to show up for other people because I couldn't show up for myself. The aspect of people calling me, having to kind of push further, having them kind of, as the more I did, the more people wanted from me, even if I didn't want to give it. I just kind of pretended that everyone was people I love. That was my mom. That was my great aunt. That was my dad. He had started. That was my grandma. And so I owed it to them. Does that mean like I'm not a nurse type of person. I don't have that I could smile at everyone now. I could definitely share a connection with people now, but I didn't have that comfort and feeling. I had that feeling hey, I know what you're going through. I understand. I understood that emotion of people who are losing something, going through something, not being able to kind of connect with someone when they're going through a lot of stressful period, when they're going through depression, when they're going through anxiety. I think the people who connect with you are going through the similar things. Obviously, they don't have the answers for you. They just want someone to kind of, they just want someone who can kind of listen to what they're saying and feel comfort knowing they're going through the same thing as somebody else. And then people who have probably already have been through it, I don't think they want to relive it. I don't think people want to relive what they've gone through in a lot of ways. So for me, it took a lot of it was a balancing act to kind of figure out what it was. Did I even want this? Did I even care? And so I still sometimes ask that question, do I really at the end of the day care? And I think in this moment I do, in the moment of that, I just know someone's going through something, and can I kind of be there just as a passenger, be someone who's just there to connect with them. If someone's been knocked down, can I kind of just sit with them for a minute or two, kind of just give them that comfort of just having someone there, just having somebody next to them, and then, or more, can I help them up and kind of get them back on their feet? And that's kind of what the things that I was looking for. I think selfishly I was looking for someone to kind of sit with me in a time where I didn't really need anything to be said. I just needed to know somebody was with me, and then can they help me up and give me something to point me in a positive direction. I didn't need them necessarily to stay with me, but just somebody who I can lean on for a second, and maybe they can lean on me in the future. Or so that's always kind of the way I went about this. And it was tough, when people want you to be a certain thing and want you to be a certain way and to kind of fit in with what I was doing. People want to put you into a type of box, but it's just not what it's not what I'm looking for. I like when people I like that yin and yang. I do like that night and day. I like people to kind of, I like people to play off of. I like that connection. I like that negative versus positive, and I don't, if as long as it's to do something good or to, create a good energy, then then that's what I want to do. I want to. And I'm not saying I've always been the positive energy. Sometimes I needed positive energy, and sometimes I was the positive energy. I think that's the beauty of life, is kind of balancing those two things. But more than not, I've learned that I have to bring positive energy to every situation. And if I don't, then things are probably not going to be the way or go the way that I want them to or need them to. But I'm always happy to accept people's positive energy and hope that there's something good behind it. Um, I want to believe that. So the only thing I could do is kind of show that. So yeah, do I show up to a moment that's kind of people are going through? Obviously, I'm selling a product where people they're going through a tough time. They're having to deal with something they don't want to deal with, something they don't want to talk about. And so how do I kind of just bring something positive to the situation, so maybe we can, if we need to talk about it, or maybe we could just solve it, or maybe we can put a positive to something that's not positive, and just have a different way of like looking at it, is definitely what I'm aiming for. And I think when you bring, like with the product, I think I bring something that has strong material, a strong foundation, that it's a good fabric, it is something fabric, it is something you wear. And yeah, so do I want people to feel comfortable? Do I want them to feel safe? Do I want them to feel like they're being heard, even if they're might not be being heard, or just connect with knowing that somebody is out there, that somebody does want to hear them, that someone is going through the same experience, that not just because you're going through something doesn't mean that people are gonna understand what you're going through. It doesn't mean that they can be there for you necessarily. The more you just continue to push through and want to believe and want to find answers, that's when you usually will find, you will find what you're looking for. But usually, for me, I've had to go through a lot for every all the 1,000 negatives for one positive, and that positive made it worth to go through another 1,000 negatives, or go through climb another hill, I guess is the best way to say it. It's like I always just felt like if I could just get over this hill, maybe I'll get a rest. Maybe I'll be able to finally relax. And I don't know. That's never really happens. And if that's my fault, I'll accept that. I don't really know. I think I'm still trying to learn. So I guess is what I'm trying to say is, for 25 years, I tried to come at this job, tried to come at it, every interaction like I was, like I said, dealing with someone I love, dealing with somebody that was my mom, that was my dad. And I tried to bring the best to every situation by listening and feeling what people were telling me, emotionally, like trying to understand, not what they were almost saying, but just seeing how they were feeling, and seeing how the senior community, not only the people wearing this product, but just how the community itself was just what emotional state they were in. It was very easy for me to point out, the good and the bad, because I was dealing with one and looking for the other. So, I was looking to be inspired, and I was dealing with just something that people can't see, something people can't touch, something that I couldn't explain. So how would they understand it? I think I found people along the way who would help me, who I believe saw something that, maybe they were going through. At least that's what I tend to believe. They saw something in me that was worth helping. They saw something that might have connected with them, without me saying it. They just knew I needed it. They saw it in my eyes. They saw it in my energy. Like, hey, this is a good person. Let me help them in this way. Let me be there for them, because they've been there for me. And at least that's, what I want to believe. That's what I think this whole connection thing is. So, for 25 years I've done this. I've never asked for anything. I've never received anything. I've learned to lose my ego. I've learned to live a modest lifestyle. I've learned to kind of put my feelings to the side, and I've learned to, I've learned to kind of bite my tongue and sit back and learn what situations were going to come at me, and then try to learn how to handle them the best way I could. But then, life happened, and I found love, and I found the family, and I realized just sitting back and just listening and not using all the lessons, and not, sharing all the voices and what I seen and all the emotions I experienced, not using it to kind of then reconnect with other people, and mostly, my kids, and hopefully, my wife. But how do I use everything that I kind of garnered, not just sit there in sadness, not just sit there, woe is me, but to actually use all those things, the good and bad that I've learned and seen, to kind of be able to express myself, to kind of be able to talk to people, not in a way that I'm talking down to them or telling them what to do or telling them how to feel, by actually connecting with them, by hopefully you understanding what I'm saying is just, I just get it. I don't know. I'm just here. If you need me, kind of thing, I'm here. But yeah, I can't, for 25 years, I always came to you. I've always met you where you're at. And yeah, I need you to take a step to me. I need you to kind of show people what I've seen, kind of. When you're getting knocked down and you just can't get up, sometimes you do have to take that first step of positive energy. Sometimes it does have to be you. You have to know how you're feeling, not how people want you to feel, not what people are telling you how to feel, but how do you feel? And then can you do something about that? Can you share a positivity? Can you accept positivity? For me, that's been a lot of it, learning how to let go of myself and let myself out there, even with my own thoughts about myself and how I felt, and how can I let that go and just experience moments in time. How can I become the best version of myself? And as corny as that sounds, and as much as I struggle with it on a day-to-day basis, how do I just let me be me, and let go, and let go of the past, and let go of my scars, and learn to kind of find empty spaces to kind of fill up with love, and fill up with meaning, and knowing that, yeah, it all might get torn apart. But, in that process, if I can enjoy that process and enjoy the experience and enjoy the journey, that good things will come along, things that will have meaning to me, and things that I will connect with, that with real deep meaning that I will have connection with, and be able to give and receive connection. And I think, like, when you are broken, when you're going through a tough time, I think that to me is kind of the hardest part, is kind of learning to receive, learning to give, learning to put, sometimes your feelings to the side so you can understand them, later on, so you can understand what you're truly feeling. And so, yeah, is this, do I do this because I want support? Yes, I want to be able to have a life with my kids. I want to be able to put a roof over my head. I want to be able to continue to be night and day. And right now, if I, can't get people to kind of understand how I'm feeling, or at least understand the product that I know that I've sold over and over again, that I know they connect with already, then yeah, I don't know what what is next. I truly don't. But I have such belief, and I have such faith that I've seen it, I've witnessed it, I've experienced it, and I know how much I've had to change, and I know how much my perspective has had to change to get here. Like, I can't say am a different person. I get that when people say, you can't change. Sure, I guess in some ways, but I've learned to change, obviously my habits, and I've learned to change the way I experience things, even when I don't want to. Even when I sometimes know the answer and know the feeling that I'm gonna feel. I've learned to kind of little by little, for me it's been very small steps. It's taken a long time, and in the end, that's really all I wanted. I just wanted a life. I wanted a life I connected with. I wanted to connect, whether that's in Santa Ana, whether that's in the senior community, whether that's within myself, whether that's with my family, whether that's just walking down the street and seeing somebody and just being able to kind of smile and know that, hey, I know those little things matter. As somebody who sat there and delivered a product and really no one truly gave a shit about my feelings, they were looking for feeling. So yeah, I had to learn the little things. I had to, when people did the little things and, complimented me, opened the door for me, smiled at me, did that make me feel good? Sure. Yeah, when you have nothing and you're not connecting with anyone or anything, little things matter. How your day starts matters. So yeah, I think I just always want to be a reminder to people to remember the small things, go back to the basics. We can always go back to the beginning, and remember who we were, why we do certain things, why we are the way we are, good and bad. I think I had to go back and find a lot of bad habits and find, that I was doing things to protect myself, but I was hurting myself. What I thought was protecting myself was really hurting myself and people around me in certain ways, because it wasn't allowing me to be available to them in ways they needed. They had to deal with my traumas, not through me doing anything bad, but by me not being able to be the shining light that they needed me to be, So, that's kind of night and day. I want to focus on the good, but I also know that, like, there's the opposite. There's the bad, and that doesn't scare me, and I'm not judgmental about it. And I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Like, my good comes out of tough places, and my bad, probably comes out of good places, but finding that balance for me is key. I only have one life to live, and I'm coming towards the backside of it, and I just don't want to waste any more time. I just don't have the time to waste. I don't think what I was doing was wasting time, but I just kept giving of myself, and when I couldn't kind of get the response I wanted, I just kind of just went with the motions. I just stopped really looking for what I needed to look for. I just got stuck in the mud, just kind of spinning tires, just kind of Groundhog's Day, just trying every day just to barely get by, just to get through the day, instead of kind of living for the day, instead of living for every day, I just was living to get through the days. And how can I connect with people that way? How can I have true connection that way? How can how can my light shine in that way, where people would want to, take a step towards me, that people would let their guard down for me? And for me, yeah, I just want such simple things. I just want that connection with my family, I just want something really basic and simple. I'm not looking for anything, honestly. I'm looking to, be a good parent. I'm looking to bring something positive to the world, even if it's the smallest thing ever, even if it's the most basic thing ever. I think we need more of that. I know my why. I know why I'm trying to connect. As I said, it's for the people I've loved in my life. And what a better way to honor them and honor myself by doing something in a time of need, and really not wanting anything back, just knowing that I get satisfaction and I get connection by just, you know, showing up for somebody and them allowing me to show up. I think that's really the big piece of this. You have to allow me to show up. You have to be able to trust that this is the reason why I'm showing up. I'm not showing up because I want to be the number one, diaper salesman. There's plenty of ways I could have went about doing that. I don't want that. I have, if that's what you wanted from me, sure, I would do it. If that's what it took, and if that's the energy that was put towards me, then I'll do it. I'll gladly do it if that's what we need. I just think it's not about that. It's about the moment. It's about knowing, what feelings we're all looking for. What is the foundation? Where do we start when things aren't well? How do we look at other people? Can we look at them as, that's me? That's somebody who's can easily be me. I look at everyone that could be me. That could be my mom. That could be my dad. Any one decision, one choice, anyone could be me. Good and bad. Like with the positive, seeing people do positive things, that could be me. If I want it to be me, then go work for it. And the negative things, keep going down this path you're going and not wanting to connect with people and hiding from yourself, then that could be you. That could anyone. Anyone's tough time could be you. So that's my night and day rant for today. I don't know if it's a rant, but it's the only thing I got. It's my honesty, that's it. I'm not, I don't have some amazing thing, but I think that's what makes it amazing, it's something that's just basic and something that hopefully most people can understand, and most people go through, tough times, and most people have things inside of them they don't want to deal with and they don't want to look at. And how do we do that with grace, and how do we do that with patience, and how do we do that with trying to make change, make a meaningful change. And even if it's the small change, or just kind of change our point of view, not look at things the way we're seeing them now, and hopefully see it something different. And I think that's the biggest difference in me. I don't know as much as has changed, as just that I see things differently. I choose to see things from a different perspective. Hopefully I look at it from more of a 360 perspective. I try to come at things from every way. But I'm just me. I'm nothing of nothing. I'm the diaper in this story. You're gonna look at me as I'm a fucking diaper. But if I do a good job and I make you feel a certain way, and I'm comfortable, and I protect you, and I help you wake up, and I protect the people around you from, what can come from, a bad product or a bad experience, then that's what I want to do. I'm a reflection of this product. I always thought I was the piece of shit, but I'm not. I'm the thing that gets in between that and you. And I could deal with it as long as I know that, what I'm doing connects. And, I, I think for 25 years I've done that. I never kind of wanted anything back, and I'm not looking for I'm not looking for people to clap their hand at me, and I'm not looking for people to kind of cheer me on. I'm just looking for that experience, I'm just looking to help you in a time, I'm just looking to connect with you. That's it. And in this moment, and then move on, and I don't need you to know who I am. I don't need you to like what I look like. I don't need you to like my voice. I don't need you to really, if you just want to focus on the night and day, and focus on that. I can be the person behind that. I'm best when I'm not in the spotlight. I'm best when I'm can sit in the back, but I don't mind having to step forward. If I have to be the light to this, then fuck, I'll do it. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it so I can do it for my kids. I'm doing it so I don't fail the one thing I wanted in this world. Like the one true gift or gifts that I received, to let those go to waste is kind of, my vulnerability. That's me at my weakest. And so do I need to kind of build strength in those areas? Yeah, I do. And do I need to kind of show that vulnerability? Maybe. I don't know. I don't mind, because I know I'll find strength in it. I'll find strength in that. And that's, if that makes me kind of weak, or if that makes me kind of basic, and if that makes me kind of, if that makes me kind of like the butt end of a joke, then then fine. That's cool. I'm, believe me, at this point, like I said, I'm on product. I'm thick-skinned. I'm thick. I'm absorbent. I'm comfortable. I can handle it. Like I can handle it. And some things that I can't handle, I'll take it on the chin, and I'll retreat. I'll go back to my practice of what I need to do to get back up. I know in my darkest moments my path to light. Like I know how to face darkness. I know how to face it from within, let alone other people's. So, I know how to, get up when it's the last thing I want to do. When it's the thing that I least want to do, that's the one thing I can do. That's the one thing Night and Day taught me, is like, no matter what it is, be the sun. Get the fuck up. That's why I share pictures of the sun, and just, it fits me. It fits me. That basic reminder, being in California, fits me. That sun's gonna get up, then you get up. You push through. Even if you're depressed, sad, don't have the answers, don't know why you're doing this, just do it. Just figure it out. And if you want to feel sorry for yourself, feel sorry for yourself, but just get up. Like, just get going. And you could feel as sorry as you want for yourself. I'm not gonna beat myself up over that. Like, I'm not gonna feel bad for that. Like, fuck off. Like, I'll show up for you. Like, I'm not judging you. If you want to judge me, go ahead. But my thing is gonna be fuck off. Like, that's really what I'm gonna be thinking, because I at least will show up for you. And if you want the worst side of me, then treat me like shit. Because I'll either get out of the way and walk away, or I might snap back at you. But if I don't wake up with that intent ever, my intent is to treat people kind, to help when I can, even though I don't have much to give. I just have an energy to give. That's it. I just have an understanding. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to feel what you're saying. And if you want me to listen, sure. And you just want someone who could smile at you, sure. And if you want someone who can understand you, sure. And if you're in this moment, if you want someone who can help you, then yeah, I'm reaching out my hand. And I hear you, I see a lot of people are reaching out their hand and no one's kind of reaching back. So I don't know. What do you have to lose? I sure as fuck got nothing to lose. I've already have lost a lot, and I've had to shed myself of a lot. So again, I've already then talked for 30 minutes. Night and day. Thanks.